Hello guys, this is Simone56 continuing my video series, A Serious Matter, Alpha Kappa Alpha and the Idolatry of Sorority Membership. This video is by request because I realize that looking at the sheer numbers of people that have watched this video series, there are many men and women who are interested in what I have to say for many reasons. There are Christians who are genuinely looking at this series because they want to be informed about the Greek culture and want to inform their friends and family. There are also Christians who may have been interested or are indeed still interested in joining Alpha Kappa Alpha or a sorority or fraternity and just want to hear another perspective on it. They're doing their research. There are detractors, of course, those people that don't agree with me, that just want to hear what I have to say, and that's fine. But I also know that there are people who are genuinely interested in joining these organizations that are just trying to glean some information about what it's really like to be a member. And I hope to help all of these populations. I realized that the video I did on pledging is probably the most popular video in the series because I don't see anywhere online where you can find an information source like that. And honestly, I was glad to give it, regardless of how you use the information or what you use it for. Today, I want to discuss a very serious subject that goes on not just in Alpha Kappa Alpha, but in all of the organizations in the NPHC, all Black Greek letter organizations. And you have this issue not just in Black Greek letter organizations, you have this in Latino orgs, you have this in other orgs who participate in hazing and in pledging. Now, when I say pledging and hazing in this video, just to let you know, I do not hold the belief that there is a distinction between pledging and hazing. There are some Greeks who, because they want to quell their consciences, try to separate the definition of hazing and pledging. Now, I explained in part 3 of this series that when I talk about pledging in this context, I'm talking about the underground illegal hazing process, not the traditional sense of the word, which means that you're going to make a vow, a promise to someone or something or ideal or goal. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the pledge process. So when I say hazing or pledging, because it was something that I used to quell my conscience when I was pledging people, I would say, oh, pledging and hazing are different. And I thought because I didn't brutalize my pledges or do horrible things to them, I didn't make them bleed, for instance, or I didn't do anything to them that would cause them direct harm, I thought that that's pledging. That's when you pledge somebody. You don't haze them, but you pledge them, and in reality, that's just not true. If you are under any circumstances doing anything to anyone under the guise of giving them membership or making them feel like they have to do A, B, C, D, or E to earn respect, you are hazing someone because you have a position of authority over them and you are using that to gain an advantage.
The Greek game need the mail, so I'm here to deliver. From here on out, I'm only playing rock, scissors, rock. This is anti-paper Greeks, resurrect the process. This ain't for non-pledges, this ain't to start mess. So whoever leave them comments on YouTube, be like, yeah, he must be talking about that dude. This ain't politically correct. This might offend some of my panhandle connects. But the state of Black Greeks ain't all good. If you wanna throw the sign, you should let them throw the wood. Might get your payroll chicken, and I might do it by my damn, I'm so Birmingham. I know we facing a recession, but these folks that y'all pick ain't gonna make it a Great Depression. This ain't for party walk strollers. This is strictly for lamps, apes, and strollers. I can't forget about the crescents. This ain't for 2.4s. Get your lesson. And don't attempt to get religious on me, please. Even my pastor got down back in 93. And this ain't all about violence. This is Death for Paper Greeks, moment of silence. The Greek game need the mail, so I'm here to deliver. From here on out, I'm only playing rock, scissors. Rock, scissors, rock. I might release this on the Greek picnic date. Drive to Ithaca and pass out my mixtapes. Then I'ma ride to DC and pay homage to those who came before me. Then cap a shake right over the Morgan State, crack one with the iotas, and I ain't talking soda. And when I get to Indiana, it's over. No more touring, just lay me by the Jordan. Your pledge lines ain't tight, your colors ain't bright, your call ain't right. I might wear crimson a year straight, won't drive by the rink, I'm allergic to skates. This is for Howard Homecoming, so I gotta kill y'all to keep it 100. This ain't the stump the yard dance craze, this is for getting drunk and popping in school days. For reciting Invictus and excuses, grand chapters even getting down, no excuses. And this ain't all about violence, this is Death for Paper Greeks, moment of silence. The Greek gang need the mail, so I'm here to deliver. From here on out, I'm only playing rock, scissors. Rock, scissors, rock. This might need a verse from the white Greeks. Pass it to the Ivies and let them get a ski week. Let the Q's and the Deltas do a stump on it. May have to ask LC to back it up for me. Might have to get you from Innuendo to do the Alpha Train on this track with Maine. I might go to Mississippi, get the whole blue fam during blue and white week to drop some bombs over Baghdad. And I'ma need every nuke that's better than an MF, I'm talking William J. Madison. To grab every Sigma Gamma Rho and we gon' shake this thing down and throw 90,000 bows. I may need bros from FAMU back on the yard. Matter of fact, bring the marching band, we going hard. I may need all the Greeks from the West Coast this November to pledge a couple gang members and tell them they can keep their red and blue on. Bring a couple Mexicans and we can do it home. And this ain't all about violence. This is Death for Paper Greeks, moment of silence.
Now to bring up some other stuff, I've been getting countless emails, countless posts on my Facebook page, countless posts on YouTube from women who are absolutely overjoyed, and men as well, who are absolutely overjoyed that I am doing a video series like this, and I'm just kind of stepping out on faith in doing this. And I've lost a lot because of it, but I have Christ, so I have everything. I've gained all in Christ because I'm doing these video series and I'm telling the truth because this stuff is going on. And I've had so many people email me and tell me their stories and what they're going through and co-signing with what I'm saying because they know what's going on. And I even had a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha contact me and say that she was denouncing her letters. She knew that God was pulling at her heartstrings, and she knew after seeing this video series that this is something that she needed to do. It really kind of takes me off with certain Greeks when they tell interest to do their research. I was expelled in 2010 and I was initiated in 2002. That's 8 years. I was a Greek for that long. So because of that, what I knew before I was Greek and what I know now about the culture are two totally different things. I had clues, but I know for certain now that certain things are going on. And to tell those who are on the outside looking in, oh, you should have done your research, is the highest of arrogant statements that I've heard from Greeks. And I'm just really sick and tired of that foolishness coming from them. You cannot do that kind of research. Back then, especially when, back in the 90s when the internet wasn't really around like that, you couldn't do that kind of research. Not in this manner. Yes, today you can go online and type in something and you can find out more information. And hopefully my series of videos will add to that. So Don't tell people, oh, just do your research, because nobody's talking about the skating pledging culture like that. And you might get in some circles and you might hear it, or you might go online and be lucky enough to see some Greeks talking about it, but nobody's going to go into detail about what's really going on these college campuses and what's going on in communities concerning this culture. Now, on to definitions. I'm going to attempt to define skater and paper for you. Now, these are, I understand, regional definitions, and the terms might be synonymous to you guys. They might mean the same thing to you guys. They mean something totally different in my eyes, so I'm going to share what I believe they mean, and you can expound in the comment section of this blog and tell me what you think.
The champagne's pouring. The mama clothes falling like the leaves in the fall. And worry about your friends, so bring them all.
I'm going to discuss paper first. To be a paper member, when you become a member of any organization in the NPHC, the National Panhellenic Council, of which Alpha Kappa Alpha is part of the 9 historically African American fraternities and sororities, you are initiated. Everyone has a ritual. You go through the ritual. I explained the initiation briefly in part 2 of this series. Once you are finished with that and you are pinned, you are considered a member of XYZ sorority. I can't really speak for anyone else, but once you're pinned, you are considered a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. You are recognized at 5656 South Stony Island Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. And you are a card-carrying active member when you pay your dues. A paper member is that individual, someone who went through that and that's it. They did not submit to the underground pledge process. They did not get online like I did. They did not pledge for how many weeks. They did not have a dean. They did not have line sisters or line brothers. They did not have a line name. They didn't have this stuff. The slight difference between the skater and paper is this: the paper member does not know about the pledging culture. They do not know about it, and they're kind of oblivious to it. The paper member might wanted to even have pledged, but they couldn't because they didn't have the opportunity. Maybe because no one was on their campus that could pledge them, or whoever was there, they were all paper too, so everybody was just paper. Everybody was initiated the way that the organization wants you to be initiated. So in that case, being paper to me is kind of no fault of your own, because it's not something that you are even looking, you may not even be looking to pledge it because it's not something that's in your forefront of your mind. Okay, so that's how I define a paper member. I know people define the skater paper as synonymous. I do not. That's not what I was taught. The skater, however, is a different matter. The skater, in the eyes of the Greek, is a person who knows about the pledge culture, who knows everything there is to know. They've been schooled. They see it on their campus. They know what the deal is. You know that when you come to this school and you come to this chapter, you got to get down. You got to pledge. You know that this culture exists. But you defy that culture and you decide instead that you're just going to go the paper route and you're going to be initiated and become a member of XYZ organization. And because of that and your defiance of it and this, you're labeled a skater because you chose the easy route versus the hard route of pledging underground to become a member of the organization. Now, please keep in mind, everyone has to be initiated to be an official member of any one of these organizations. But the underground pledge culture is another animal altogether. And the skater is a person that chose not to seek the respect of those individuals on their campus, in their chapter, or in that community by submitting to a pledge process. The whole premise is that you didn't earn what I earned, and it's kind of an unfair thing that you were able to just slide in while someone who pledged for 12 weeks or 8 weeks or however long you pledged got down and got their letters the hard way and got their respect the hard way. However, you just came in, signed a couple of pieces of paper, and attended a weekend orientation, and all of a sudden you're a member. Now I want to talk about the culture of the Greek organization. I find it to be highly hypocritical, in my humble opinion, when national organizations stand up and proclaim that hazing is wrong and have anti-hazing policies on their websites and proclaim to the top of their lungs that they are a non-hazing organization. Let me tell you guys something. The national organization can proclaim that they're anti-hazing all they want. The national headquarters do not live in your neighborhood. They're not on your campus. They do not live in your city. The national headquarters can do little or nothing about the pledge culture because the pledge culture starts in the brains, hearts, and minds of every individual member of a sorority or fraternity. And they can't regulate that. They can do their best to try to suspend people and expel people who they believe are hazers, and I will give them that they have gone that extra mile to suspend and expel those individuals who they believe are hazers and who they believe have been pledging or participating in illegal activities in that manner. But they cannot control the local culture. And herein lies the problem. Okay, and this is why it's highly hypocritical of them, because they have to know, they know that local members approve of the underground pledge process in order to get the respect of the local members. See, when you become a member of an organization, you are introduced into that Greek community. That community comprises not just of your chapter sorors or your chapter bros. It consists of all the members of your organization that are in that area or on that campus. It consists of the other members of Greek organizations. So everybody together is kind of collective. And if the collective mindset is that you got to pledge, and if you don't pledge, you a skater, there is a systematic ostracizing that takes place of those paper skating members. And I've seen it time and time again. You cannot go to any of these events. Now, there are official events that you go to that the chapter sponsors that usually are community service oriented. You do have official fun events like parties and step shows, etc. And it even goes on there. But you have unofficial events. You have events that you go to that are outside of your organization. You have picnics and all kinds of other events being thrown by people. And when you go to these events, the pledging culture is there and it's real. Do not get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. It is real. Pledging is all in your face. Let me give you an example. A dear member of Alpha Kappa Alpha emailed me and told me her story. And I will just give you the abbreviated version. She became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha as an undergraduate. She had other women that came in with her. She called them line sisters. Everyone, if you don't know, this is kind of an oxymoron if you didn't pledge, but you have line sisters. If you weren't on a line, you really don't have line sisters. But they gave these women line names and line numbers and sent them on their way. But they noticed that people wouldn't talk to them. And members of their own organization would give them this stank face, wouldn't talk to them, wouldn't stroll with them at parties, wouldn't do activities with them. On the official level, yeah, they would talk to them because they knew that eyes were watching them. But on the unofficial level, where they would socialize and try to enjoy the sisterhood with these women, they realized that they couldn't do it. And they didn't figure it out until somebody had the nerve to tell them, well, you didn't pledge. You didn't get down, so everybody here thinks that you're skaters and nobody talks to you. And these women are systematically ostracized. And they're ostracized not only in their by their chapter sorors, their profiles that are supposed to be taking care of them don't talk to them because they didn't pledge, even though it's really no fault of their own. But you've got people on the campus, frats and other sororities, that make fun of them at step shows, throw paper at them at events, make snide comments and remarks, and treat them like they are less than. Now, if you are a new member to these organizations, this is not what you wanted. This is not what you thought you were getting when you paid that exorbitant membership dues fee to become a member. And then when you come in and you realize, wow, these people don't even like me or even try to respect me because in my town or on my campus, they view us as skaters. They view us as paper because we didn't have an underground pledge process. This is happening all across the country. Yes, there are chapters out there that do not haze. It's true. And those chapters, they get talked about. I'm sorry, they get talked about by folks like me that used to be like me, and we call you skaters behind your back, and we do all of these things. We've done it. I've done it. We've ousted entire chapters. We give women the stank face. And at parties, we wouldn't stroll with them. The only way that we would stroll with a skater was that we were trying to put on a united front. We did not want it to be seen, to be thought of with outsiders that we were not united as an organization or we had beef. So in order to promote that unity, it was false because we know we didn't really like the skaters, but in order to promote that unity, we would let a skater stroll with us. We would tell them, look, you know what, don't come out looking like this in our letters. Don't come out looking crusty. Don't come out looking retarded because, you know, even though you skated, you still represent Alpha Kappa Alpha. So don't come out looking retarded. You know, try to at least represent your letters in a manner. And I'm talking to you in the language that I used to speak. And can you imagine yourself as a woman, as an AKA, as a woman, and if you're a paper or a skater on a campus, and you've got men in your face, men, quote unquote men, who are members of these organizations in your face, questioning you, making snide comments at you, trying to get with you because, unfortunately, it's a thought that, you know, these men think that if you're a paper or a skater that you're stupid and will try to have sex with you and try to get with you if you're a paper or a skater, because they think you're dumb and you don't know, what you're talking about. I've seen this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, where, you visit another school where it's known that the chapter of your sorority gets down, and they don't know you. So they're going to come up to you, and they're going to be like, well, who are you? Where you come from? And if they heard about your chapter and they heard that you skated, you're not going to get any love whatsoever. And is that the part of the reason why you joined the Greek letter organization? Because you wanted to have that connection with members of your organization all across the country. No matter where you went, you thought you were going to have sisters. Well, hate to burst the bubble, if you're a skater, if you're a paper, that ain't going down. Now, mind you, everybody doesn't know everybody, and you might be able to get away with it for a little while. But you're always going to be in fear of the people that might be from your campus or from your city that might know you. It might know you to be a skater, or it might know you to be paper. And all they got to do is say those words to those people in your new city, in your new campus, etc. Oh, I know who that is. She went through so-and-so chapter. They all skated. That's all somebody has to say. And you're ostracized. Yes, Greeks have minds of their own. I'm not saying that there won't be a Greek that won't come up to you, that won't be cool with you, regardless of your status. Because honestly, I was one of those Greeks. I know the culture is really, really bad. Okay, so it is not merely enough for the national organization to condemn hazing and say, oh, you can't haze and this is condemned. It's not enough. Because you have the local members in that particular city or in that particular campus who openly and proudly endorse hazing. They go to the picnics. They go to all the kind of unofficial events, and they wear the made shirts. And the Deltas got ducks on their shirts, and the AKAs got made on their shirts, and oh, this guy and the third. You see this stuff, so you know it's real. You see the frats talking about their bloody chapters and how bloody their chapters are. You see them with the wood out in the open, trading strokes with one another in public to see who can take wood the best. You see this. So the pledge culture is real. This is why I get on here. And I don't want nobody, I don't want not a single Greek on here to tell me it ain't happening, because you're lying. And you know in your heart that you're lying. You have it now that now in the 21st century, you have women, doing the most brutal, despicable acts to one another in the name of sisterhood. And you have men. The men are even worse. The men, because they're men and they're very physical and the way they think and all these things, the men are very brutal. The men are brutal, extremely brutal to one another. This is why in most hazing cases you hear men dying. You hear men dying or being mortally wounded because the type of physical abuse that goes on during many of these pledge processes is very serious. Women find different ways to cope with this. I will give you some situations. Number one, I find women cope with this one of many ways. Once they find out that they hadn't had a process, they seek after one. They seek after members of chapters where they know they get down, or they seek after their pro-fights, women who have come into the organization before them in their chapter. That's what a pro-fight is. And they seek after them to give them a valid process. They seek after them to pledge them. I have seen women, in my experience, beg people for processes. They beg, and I've seen women actually be obliged where someone takes them under their wing and gives them a process. I have been one of those women where someone has come to me and realized that they didn't know anyone, and they didn't realize that they were going to get eaten up by the culture out here, and I had compassion on them, and me with other people decided to give these women a process. In the event that many of these women can't find someone to give them a process, I have heard of it a million times, where they will make up a process. They will make up their experiences. They'll lie about what they did, and they will lie about what has been done to them in order to gain the respect of those that are around them. And I've seen that blow up in a lot of women's faces because honestly, when you have a process, people have to vouch for you. Someone had to have seen you online. Someone had to vouch for you. It's kind of hard to do that these days because honestly, no one trusts anyone anymore. So I personally wouldn't invite anyone to see a line of mine unless I know that you had a process yourself. That's the kind of culture we're in because everybody's getting suspended, everybody's getting expelled. But this is how it went down. So a lot of women would make up stuff about having a process and learn all of the terms. They would learn all that stuff so they could pretend like they had a pledge process. It happens quite a lot, and this is why this culture is so out of control. Those women, I've heard of those women who make up pledge processes actually going forth and pledging others to validate how real they are. This is how twisted the whole thing gets. Now, you find out that you're a skater and you're at an event and you look at all of these things that are being said and being done. You see the girls and the men with the pledge shirts on that say made this and I was made that and skater this and skater that. Not everybody wears those shirts, but there are blatantly rude and disrespectful people that will wear those shirts because they're out to prove something themselves, but that's another issue. They will be in attendance at these events. They will speak, they will say their chants and their songs against those who are paper and you a skater and this, that, and the third. I've seen all of this. All of this adds to the systematic ostracizing of members, and like I said before, I've seen people throw paper at other Greeks. And to be very honest, members of Alpha Kappa Alpha catch this the hardest because of our MIP process. People believe that we do not pledge as hard as other organizations. So I find that AKAs go out of their way to be harder when it comes to their pledge processes versus anyone else because they have something to prove, because the whole Greek community thinks that got this easy 3-day weekend process. So I find a lot of AKAs overcompensate for that and are usually doing things that they have no business doing to prove to others just how real they are. And like I said, AKAs get it really, really hard at events where they getting paper thrown at them and people are making fun of the fact that they don't know their history and this, that, and the third. It is a systematic thing where all the organizations do it, whether in secret or they'll do it in your step show and they'll do it out in the open. It is systematic, and these women get eaten up by the pledge culture in one way or the other to survive. They'll do anything to survive. Some people step away from it, which is probably the best thing to do. Others assimilate, like I said, by either seeking out someone to give them a process, or they'll make up information in order to pretend like they did. And I've seen it a million times. Another issue that contributes to this gating paper thing, especially in AKA, and I have to touch on it briefly, is the legacy clause. Now, if you are interested in membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha and you either have a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, or you're a ward of the court of a woman who has had membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha and is either currently active, that means she's paying her dues and she's active, or she's deceased, you can become a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha as long as you meet the membership requirements. So here's the thing about the legacy clause, which ticks off a lot of people. You see a lot of legacies being called paper or being called skaters, mainly because they're, number one, they're not voted on by the chapters that they join. So the chapter has no say on whether they become members or not. They could be the biggest hoe on campus. They could be the worst example possible. But because of the legacy clause, they're allowed to just roll in and have membership in the organization. But they do have to meet the membership requirements, such as the GPA and the high moral ethical standards. But let me tell you something. It's very hard to prove if someone has the low moral ethical standards. I have rarely, if ever, seen someone turned down in a legacy clause based on that, because the regional directors make up their mind that they're just going to let them in to avoid trouble or controversy. Because you know, if you turn down a legacy, there's going to be a mama, aunt, or grandma somewhere that's going to be yelling at the top of her lungs as to why her baby didn't get into the organization. So that often leads to a lot of problems in chapters, and young women who don't even know the ramifications of that, getting in and being subjected to this kind of behavior. So I had to mention that as well. So I want people to be aware of these things, because when you come into the sorority and you're not aware that these attitudes exist against new people who are coming in either via the legacy clause or they come in their paper, and people automatically have a chip on their shoulder against you because you came in a certain way. You might not even have an idea as to why, but you came in this way. The resentment builds. There's another issue of grad versus undergraduate membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha. Now, on the undergraduate level, it is assumed, because of the age and the pledge happiness of people on the undergraduate level, that you're assumed to have pledged or seeking to have a pledge process. Now, when you go grad or you seek alumni membership, it is expected that you're an older woman and you're in your career and you're doing more with your life. And to be very honest, I don't see the point of grad members having a process, but this pledging culture is so crazy. I know graduate chapters, which accept women who have already graduated from college, who have processes. You know, there's a lot of tension between grads and undergrads anyway, because you have undergrads who think they know it all and the impetuousness of youth, versus grad members who, you know, do know better. They've been through it. But because they have a lot more knowledge, they sometimes shut out the undergrads and really don't listen to their concerns. And that's a huge problem in AKA anyway. As you guys know in the video series, I tell you that I had tremendous problems with the graduate chapter that sponsored and supervised mine. So because of this tension, it's quick of people to say that, oh, you know, grad members, you know, they wanted to skate into the organization. You know, they were rejected during undergrad. And grad members who went to a college which had an undergraduate chapter of a sorority or fraternity are really looked at kind of funny, because the question is asked, well, why didn't you join an undergrad? And it is assumed that because you decided to go grad, that you took the easy route into the organization. Hence, people think grad members skate. But it's not true in all cases. There are grad members that pledge too. There have been some grad members that have been ghosts. I talked about being ghosts, and I believe part 4 of this series, that there have been grad members that have been ghosts who were pledged underground, either on the undergraduate level or in some other type of process, and then they join graduate chapters and go grad based on wanting to get their letters officially. There's a lot of assumptions being made, not always necessarily true. There's always going to be that thought that you joined grad and you did that because you couldn't get in on undergrad. You know, and there's some valid reasons why you didn't go undergrad. Maybe there wasn't a chapter of AKA on your campus, or maybe the chapter was suspended while you were there. Maybe you had extenuating circumstances which prevented you from pursuing membership on the undergraduate level. There are many reasons. Lines that come in that are really, really large. And to me, a line that's large is bigger than 20. Okay? A line that's bigger than 20 to me is a large line. Somebody may have a different opinion, but after 20 people, 25 people, I mean, think about it. You know, I'm a former teacher and I had to learn 25 names, and it was kind of difficult, but I did. So I can see a line of 25, you know, working out. But you have certain people coming into the organization and they're coming in on lines of 50 members, 60 people, 100 people, and it's very obvious that not everybody on that line is going to pledge. And if they submit to the pledging culture, they're going to probably have a split line. A split line is a line where maybe half of the line participated in the underground pledge process and half of the line did not. This causes so many problems in undergraduate chapters I cannot even begin to tell you. Because the pledge process is all about wanting to know who got down and who didn't, and you want respect from people, and you'll dog out your sorority sister to do it. If you are on a line that was split, you'll be quick to tell somebody, oh, you know what, we pledged, we got down, we got our letters the hard way. And the 2, 4, 6, and 8 on this line pledged, but the 1, 3, 5, and 7, they didn't pledge. They skaters, and they'll let everybody in the world know it. I've seen it. I've seen this scenario play out too many times to mention. It becomes a problem, and people end up getting hurt in the process because it's a dog-eat-dog world. Now, be very honest. If you have a line that has over 100 people on it, obviously everybody on it is not going to be able to pledge. And I've heard of people actually pledging people in sections, and you're only going to know a certain group of people. You're not going to know the entire 127, or you're not going to know the entire line. But you know, these organizations bring in big lines, quote unquote, at these universities, and these things cause a lot of problems. So it's really all about how you handle it. Now, if you are hearing this video and you fit the scenario, and technically the way I described it, you are a paper or a skater. Number one, you've taken the oath to the organization. The organization recognizes you as a member. If you take my advice or not concerning the idolatrous nature of these organizations as a Christian, and you choose to move forward, I pray that you do not go and submit yourself to a pledge process. If you do, like I did, you're going to subject yourself to a lot of problems. You don't need to do that. Okay, so if you are already a member and you fit the skater paper definition, don't be bullied by these bullies, because that's who they are. They're bullies, and they'll try to bully you into doing one thing versus another. And I did it out of concern because I knew what the pledge culture was. I knew what it was, and I knew I did not want to be ostracized, and I did it because I fell for the peer pressure of wanting to fit in. And one of the reasons you join these organizations is that you want the sisterhood, the brotherhood of other Greek members. You don't just join for community service. If you just join for community service, you could have joined the NAACP. You did not have to join a sorority or fraternity. So when people say that, oh, well, you know, this is a community service organization, it is not just that. The organization does not market itself like that. So don't lie to people and say that this is just a community service organization. It is not. It is marketed as a sisterhood. And a sisterhood assumes that the women that are in it are trying to be sisterly. And this whole paper skater business prevents that. So you've got a lot of disgruntled individuals. Just like many of the young women who have emailed me and have told me about their situations. Go to God. If you don't know the Lord, I encourage you. The Bible says that the gospel is the power of God unto salvation for all who believe. And all you have to do is trust and believe and obey God. And that comes with the gospel. If you know Him, if you're saved and you know Him, you get down on your knees. If you don't know Him, you get down on your knees and you cry out. That's all I can tell you to do. But I know that Jesus Christ is Lord, and He's the Lord of my life, and He's the reason why I'm doing these videos. I've seen so many women get hurt and just get eaten up by this culture, and I will not sit idly by while people continue to do it under the guise of discretion and under the guise of keeping things under the wraps. And this is how Satan and his schemes prosper, because people, good people, stand to the side and don't do anything about it, or don't say anything about what's going on. Ephesians tells us to expose the unfruitful works of darkness, not to participate in these things. And I see this was one of the things that bothered me as a member, that this is just darkness, and there's no way as a member that you can excuse it. It's time for me to go. I love you all with the love of the Lord, and I will be talking to you later. I will be talking about another subject, but I hope that this is right off the cuff. I love you guys so much, and I hope that this helps someone. I'll talk to you later. Bye.